demonstration on how to use the Eyebrowqueen Brow Pro and the Brow Fix. I'm going to show you two styles of brow. On one side I'm going to do a textured brow so it looks feathery and fluffy, and on the other side it's going to be more defined. I do wear both styles, but it just depends on what mood I'm in. So I'm actually going to do a textured style on this brow first. So I would start by brushing the brows up into place to give me an idea. If I had stubborn brows, I would actually start using my brow fix, but I prefer to do my brow fix right at the end because then it helps to fix the pencil in place as well. I'm going to take my medium brown pencil. So even though I've got dark hair and dark skin, the medium brown is a universal colour. It tends to suit most brunettes, and I don't really like my brows to look too dark because my hairs are dark already. So looking at my brows, the first thing that I would see is this gap here. Years ago, I would always pluck that out to try and give myself a higher arch, but I've decided to grow it in, and it's kind of left me with some little patches that have been there for about 15 years. So I'm going to take the side of the pencil and I'm going to use that just to kind of gently stroke some colour into the skin. So once I've done that part, I'm going to look at the top section here. So I like to actually still use the slant of the pencil and draw almost a faint line, almost joining up the hairs across the top there. I'm going to chase that down through the tail, not pressing too hard at all. And then what I'm going to do is try and thicken up this tail. So this hair here is actually like my facial hair that I've dyed, and I've removed the rest of it around the edges so it looks like part of my brow. So I just need to really thicken that section up. And don't be tempted to put too much on, because when you brush your hair over it, that tends to make up for what's missing as well. Once I've done that section, I'm going to move to the front. So for the front, my tip is to rest your chin on your hand. So you would take the fine point of the pencil and just create some really fine strokes. Obviously I can't talk and do that at the same time. You don't have to press hard. You can always go back. So what I'm doing is I'm going back over the ones when I sit back, and if I can't see them, I can just go over them again. It just takes a little bit of practice to do that. So when you start, they'll be all blurry. You won't get them evenly spaced, but actually you'll get into the flow of it the more you do it. So now I've just sort of started building up that area. I'm looking at this line under here and it's quite neat already, but I'm finding the middle bit looks stronger and I want it to look fluffy. So I'm going to actually draw in some definite strokes. So think of like a fence, a gate, and using the corner still, just starting to draw in some definite strokes. And I just keep brushing in between. Now, what I can see now is I've got a tiny little bit there and I haven't got a good transition from there to there, and I've got a gap in the middle here. So I'm going to take this gap here, just put some colour in there. So even though I want them to look textured, I don't like to see obvious gaps. I like to see kind of controlled gaps. Okay, and then for this area here, I'm just going to draw in a few strokes. So I don't want a definite line up there. I want my brows to look a little bit fluffy. And think of your hair strokes as if they're going upwards and then over. And I think that looks enough for me. So before I do any more pencil, I'm going to use my Brow Fix product. So with the Brow Fix, you really don't need to use a lot. Even though it comes in a big bottle with a dropper, just put a tiny bit on the spoolie, and that's actually more than enough for one brow. So just wipe off the excess if you don't need it. Now my hairs are quite stubborn, so what I'm going to do first, to put some brow fix onto the hairs, I'm going to brush them in the opposite direction first. So that's just going to start coating all the hairs, and then I'm going to use my brush in like a rolling action and sweeping upwards. Now the reason I didn't want a lot on my brush is if I put too much on, it's going to smudge all of my hair strokes. So just take your time, brush them up and into place. You really don't need a lot. If you put too much on, what will happen, they'll go all white and flaky, so you really don't want that. And actually this will feel soft to touch when it's finished as well. You can actually use the brush handle as well and press against your skin, but if you roll slowly, that should actually stick the hairs down if you want it to. Now I've brushed them into place, I've kind of exposed some more sparse areas there, so I haven't smudged the pencil, I've just kind of moved the hair out of the way. So I need to go back in with my pencil, and this time I am actually going to draw just a couple of definite strokes. And anywhere it looks a little bit weak. That's the kind of look I like to create when I'm looking at a textured brow. It just looks like a fuller version of what I have naturally, with the illusion that my hairs are all growing upwards. But what I'm going to do now is do the defined look on this brow using the same products, starting again first with brushing them into place. You can see my hairs grow downwards. They're a little bit stubborn as well, so that's why I need the brow fix. I developed that because I could never find anything that was strong enough to hold them other than like brow soap, but I prefer to use something at the end to set my brows rather than at the beginning. Once I've brushed them, I'm going to start to use my pencil. I'm imagining the base, doing a base here, so a defined line at the bottom and then colouring in from there. What I don't want to do is draw a line right around the edge of the hairs, so I'm working just within and almost joining those hairs up, but really softly, because the problem is if you do it too defined, you'll have to go really dark with your colour. So you notice I'm not starting at the front, I'm starting just a little bit inwards because I want to keep the front looking natural. So my definition will start just after the bulb of the brow. So apply a tiny bit there, fill in that gap because I have the same gap on the other side, and chase that line down under the tail. Once I've done that, I'm then going to do the same with the top. So I'm imagining where the top line needs to be, and I'm going to just join that area there up as well. So doing quite a defined line, but softly. Okay, so if I brush my hair out the way, you can actually see I've drawn a line in there. What I need to do then is blend that colour down. So fill in all the way up to the line. You can use the flat of the triangle, it's just a little bit quicker. Or if you just keep using it on each side, it will become sharper. So this pencil kind of sharpens itself. So nice and defined there. Then I'm aware I've got a line under here and I haven't blended it upwards. So what I need to do is brush that line up, and that will start to smudge my pencil slightly. And then I am actually going to blend upwards from that line, just so the colour transitions nicely. Filling in any gaps that I can see as well, because I am looking for more of a defined look on this side. So a little bit more definition, and then I'm going to come to the front. So again, we're going to be drawing some hair strokes into this area. So imagine that line was following further along. That's going to be my base. Again, this is just practice. Use the tip of the corner of the pencil and literally just draw a hair, leave a gap, draw a hair, leave a gap. So think of like a fence. And what I need to do is I need that colour to transition to here. So I'll go back and I might just fill in softly in between so that I don't see a total step between the two. So before I apply any more colour, I'm going to fix them into place. So doing the same as I did before, I'm going to use a tiny drop of the Brow Fix, comes with the spoolie, and then just take the excess from the brush and then brush your hairs backwards just to coat each hair with the Brow Fix. And if you want them to be spiky, that's the trick, is to brush them up that way first, the opposite direction, and then brush them into place. But they don't really suit me like that, and I'm going for a bit of a defined brow. So just roll gently so you don't smudge all of your makeup that you've done. Now it's quite tacky by now, but I still haven't applied too much. So if I wanted to make that fix stronger, I would just get another drop and reapply. So now I've brushed them up, I can kind of see where there are empty gaps or things aren't quite right. So there's a hair sticking up there, I'm going to push that back down. Another trick with the Brow Fix, if you put too much on, it tends to go all shiny on the skin and it kind of leaves like a film over it. It does make the pencil that you've put on waterproof, but you know, you can sometimes tell it's there, so you really don't need a lot for it to look natural. So that's my more defined brow. Not a lot of difference between them, and that's because I've got a lot of hair, but it's just more shaded in with a textured front, whereas this one is all really, I've just gone for the definite empty areas and some hair strokes. So both using the medium brown Brow Pro and the Brow Fix.